Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Unlocking the Paradigm Portal. As always, my name is Sarah, and tonight I am your guide through this beautiful, messy landscape of dualities. So, tonight we are going to peel back the layers on one of the most primal, electrified tensions in the human experience, and that is the feeling of freedom versus the feeling of being trapped. Anybody else struggled with this one? Raise your hands with me. So, we're going to start with a truth that most of us don't want to admit, that sometimes the cage isn't made of iron bars, but of beliefs or patterns and stories that we've carried for so long that they feel like home. And sometimes freedom is just a mirage or a story that we tell ourselves about what's possible while really quietly refusing to unlock the door right in front of us. And as a quick side note, think about the cage that you feel yourself in any capacity, in yourself, in a mindset, in a belief system, in a relationship. Is the cage actually there and were you put into it? Or did you willingly walk yourself into a cage in order to keep people out under the guise of freedom? That's really what got me thinking about this. I heard that line on a video I watched sometime recently. I can't remember who it was, but it just really stuck with me. So I wanted to talk about it. So to start, we're going to talk about freedom, and not this like social media hashtag version, not the run away to Bali and never come back version, but the real lived experience. And freedom can be wild and exhilarating, and it can also be terrifying, because true, real freedom asks us to claim our own agency and to make our own choices and take responsibility for what happens next. And think back to the other videos on learning to use discernment and authenticity, and they all require taking responsibility for yourself and your choices. It means risking disappointment, stepping into the unknown, and Lord knows most people are terrified of change, and sometimes letting go of the safety of our old wounds that have become so comfortable. This is the reason that I have a tattoo on me that says change, because it is scary and necessary. But here's the kicker. So sometimes what looks like freedom on the outside is just another way to run from intimacy, from vulnerability, from the parts of ourselves that we'd rather not face. And freedom can become the avoidance of roots, a resistance to commitment, or the endless chase for something better that never quite arrives. Now, I am someone who has long-standing insisted I need all the freedom. And as I said in a previous video, I recently moved, and I had a conversation a few months ago about the fact that I've moved multiple times throughout my adult life, and moving doesn't intimidate me. And I was looking at that as like, I'm free. I can uproot and go wherever I need to because that's what feels best. And then I started thinking about it as I was moving, and I thought, is it actually for freedom, or is it because I have not established deep roots? And what are the fears that I have around that? Which, again, another reason I wanted to dive into this. So just something to think about and just ponder. The things that you insist are because of your need for freedom, is it actually freedom, or is it avoidance? And then there's this other side, which is the sense of being trapped. And sometimes the walls are really obvious, like toxic relationships or dead-end jobs or a chronic illness or a world that just won't let you breathe. And other times the walls are invisible, like perfectionism, shame, unprocessed grief, or these ancestral patterns that were passed down and we inherited before we could even spell the word freedom. Excuse me, I just fumbled over that one. So feeling trapped is suffocating, and it shrinks the world, it dulls your senses, and it makes even the smallest risk feel impossible. It feels utterly terrifying, and it triggers that fight or flight need. But here's where it gets super tricky. Sometimes we keep ourselves in those cages because the unknown is scarier than the discomfort we already know. And we grip onto those bars because at least here we know the rules. So duality isn't about trapped equals bad, freedom equals good. As always, I always say this, both of them are teachers. They are showing you guideposts. And the important thing is to become present enough to notice them. And feeling trapped can be a call to action or like a wake-up alarm screaming at you. And it's just information. It's a signal that something in your life wants to grow, shift, break free. But sometimes that sense of being trapped is a trauma response. It's a survival mechanism or a byproduct of living in systems that don't support our authenticity. And I think every single person listening to this could pause and recognize some situation or system that they're in that causes them to feel very trapped. And freedom, on the other hand, can be both medicine and poison. Sounds crazy, right? It's this liberation when it's rooted in self-trust and connection. But it's escapism when it's rooted in fear or avoidance or the illusion that the grass will always be greener somewhere else. Fun fact, the grass is greenest where you water it. Just think about that for a minute. So what's the way through? And as always, it starts with very honest self-inquiry and just getting extremely curious about what drives your choices, what drives your thoughts, your patterns. So ask yourself, where do I feel free and what beliefs support that freedom? And then ask yourself, where do I feel trapped and what stories keep me locked in? So just sit with that for a second. And then start to think about, what am I afraid will happen if I truly step out of the cage? What if I take those steps toward change and do something different? Sometimes little differences, sometimes radical differences. What would really happen? And what is the fear driving that? And then I always love to bring it back to the body. So what does freedom feel like in my body? Not just in my mind, but in my body. That's a tough one because, again, most people are so dissociated from their bodies that they can't really differentiate. So also, I am curious if you ask yourself, is this longing that I have for freedom actually a longing for something deeper? Maybe it's belonging, maybe it's rest, maybe it's finding a purpose or really allowing love in. So if you close your eyes, maybe you can sense that difference. And if you can, high fives to you. If you can't, or you're unsure, trapped can feel like that tight chest, like shallow breathing, like you just can't breathe deep enough, or your muscles may be tensed up and kind of braced for impact. And freedom feels more like space opening in your rib cage, like that first gasp of fresh air after you've been underwater, like a deep breath, like a sigh, like the wild, crazy urges to just move or sing or create. I spontaneously had a dance party in my kitchen by myself this morning because I was feeling so beautifully free. It was absolutely amazing. I highly recommend it. So the invitation that I am extending to you is not one of exiling one side and worshiping the other. It's just noticing where the door is already unlocked and to gently ask what part of you is ready for more space and what part is still holding on for dear life in a death grip. And sometimes all it takes is the tiniest shift in perception, like a little breath or a single step, just to move the story of I can't to the possibility of maybe I could. No action required, just ponder that. So tonight, as you move through your life, just notice, where do you already have more freedom than you might realize? And where may you be clutching those bars on that cage or literally holding the door shut and the door is actually trying to swing gently open? And what might happen if just for one moment, just one, you let yourself step outside of that cage. So thank you for exploring this little paradox with me. And as always, the portal stays open, not for escape, but to expand beyond what you've always believed. So if you are liking this, I invite you to like, share, subscribe. I would love some comments. I would love some emails. I would love to get people really integrating this. If anything, even if it's like 3 months from now and something pops into your head, let me know. I am down for hearing anyone's stories about their own personal expansion. So I will see you in the next deep dive tomorrow. I am super proud of myself for doing this every day, and I am genuinely so excited to come and record every single night. And I'm going to twist it up because I was going to dive into understanding how to recognize a yes and a no and using somatic practices to help learn how to differentiate between the two. But I may actually go into presence versus dissociation. You know what? I'm going to decide tomorrow. If anyone has a preference, let me know, and I will talk to you again tomorrow. So have a wonderful evening. Thank you.